Next, we're going to look at two concrete tools to help prevent bullying, and then a way of assessing both yourself as an educator and your program as a community to identify strengths and areas to work on across the 6 key strategies for preventing bullying. The first concrete tool is the feedback sandwich. So the feedback sandwich is a way to try to make sure that you're succeeding in providing feedback positively. Not only does it help increase the ratio of positive to corrective or directive feedbacks, but it also gives you a structure for offering those corrective or directive feedbacks that is more likely to be heard by whoever you're talking to. And the way that the feedback sandwich works is that you first offer a positive feedback about the situation or the issue or the person. So make sure that it's relevant positive feedback. I like the way you're trying to be creative in coming up with a solution to this issue. That would be an example. Next, you're going to have a request for change, but it's going to be positively framed request for a change. So this is the redirection piece. And it may include redirecting away from a different behavior, or it may simply be a direction, but it always needs to be positively framed. So in other words, you don't want to say, I need you to stop shouting, because that is a negatively framed request. It's a request whose focus is a no or a stop type request. So instead, you might say something like, instead of speaking in a louder tone, I need you to calm your tone down to a quieter indoor voice. So that would be a positively framed request for a change. And that is a redirection style request. A direction style request might be, I need you to speak more quietly and calmly. Then the bottom bread of the feedback sandwich is another positive feedback, again about the situation, the issue, or the person. So again, it needs to be something that's relevant. I think what you're saying to me is really important and valuable, and it's clear that you have a lot of insight into what's going on here. So when you put it all together, you end up with something like, I really appreciate that you're trying to be creative about solving this problem. I need you to speak calmly and quietly, but I'm really excited to hear what you have to say because I can tell that you have a lot of insight and ideas and a lot of wisdom to share about this issue. That's a feedback sandwich, and it makes it a lot easier for the person hearing it to take it as a supportive person being interested in a partnership and asking for a positive change rather than simply being told you're doing something wrong. The second concrete tool is called the conflict resolution map, and so this is a simple 5-step process that helps you get through difficult or stressful conversations while making sure that you're making enough space for both people's thoughts and needs to be addressed in the conversation. And how it starts is step 1 is to listen. In the listening step, you want to make sure that you are inviting the other person to say what they think about the situation. So if you're starting the conversation, you're going to start it with an opening sentence to let the person know what the conversation is about, and then immediately ask them an open-ended question. I came over here to talk to you because I noticed that you're not playing with the other kids. What's up with that? And then let the person respond back to you. And as they're responding, you want to make sure that you're listening as neutrally as possible and that you're non-judgmental in the way that you're responding, as well as repeating back what you heard. So let's imagine that you said, I came over here to speak with you because I saw you throwing toys, and that's not allowed here. So I'd like to understand what's going on. And then the child says, well, I threw the toys because this place is stupid and I hate it and it sucks here. So again, non-judgmentally and not taking it personally, you're going to say something like, okay, so let me make sure I've got this. You were throwing blocks because you're unhappy being here, because you think that it's stupid here. And then the child might say, and it sucks here too. And you might say, okay, you're saying that you don't like it here. Have I got that? That would be the listen step. But you want to make sure that you're as non-judgmental as possible. And the purpose of this is to let the person that you're talking to, which could be a child or an adult, feel that their voice is welcome in the conversation and that you're making a true effort to hear what they have to say. The second step is empathize and validate. So, empathizing is letting the person know that you're making an effort to put yourself into their shoes. And validating is letting them know that they have a right to their perspective. And that is true, even if you disagree with them. And the most important thing to remember when you're validating is that if you put the word but at the end of your validation, you're undoing all of the good that that validation has done. No buts, no howevers, no excepts. So taking again the example of the child who threw the block and then said, I hate this place, it's so stupid and boring and it sucks. And you repeat it back, so you're saying that you don't like it here and it's boring. And the child's like, yeah. Then you can empathize by saying, I don't like being in places that I find myself bored either. Boredom is not fun. And you have every right to feel like this place is not interesting to you. That's your right to have that perspective. So that would be empathizing and validating. Sometimes when you do that, the person wants to say more, so you go back to listen and you hear what they have to say, and then you empathize and validate again. And you continue along with that until the person feels heard and you understand where they're coming from. It's really important as you go through this process to make sure that you're doing a good job of listening, which means two things. Thing number one, you are not formulating a response in your mind. You are just listening to the other person. It's a very hard thing to do, but it's the earmark of a good listener. And thing number two is that you're not assigning intention as the child or the adult that you're speaking with is speaking to you and telling you what's going on for them. You're not saying, oh, well, he's just saying that because he's frustrated. He's just saying that because he's cranky. He's just saying that because I won't let him play with what he wants to play with. By doing that, you're undermining your ability to hear what the person is saying as non-judgmentally as possible. The third step is optional, and that is to ask clarifying questions. And you only want to do this if the person you're talking to either really isn't partnering with you yet or calming down, or if there's actually more information that you need. But it's essential if you're going to ask a clarifying question to make absolutely certain that the question is non-judgmental and it does not drive forward any kind of agenda. It's just to get additional information. Like, ooh, I'd really like to know more about that. Are there particular parts of this program that are more boring than others? Or something like, what do you think that we could, is there anything that you think we could do that would make the program less boring for you? So open-ended, curious questions to learn more about where the other person is coming from. Step 4 is the solution-focused response step. This is where you use your feedback sandwich to propose a solution or positive outcome to the situation. So depending on the situation that you're in, it may be that you say, this is how we're going to proceed. But it also may be that it's a conversation or a negotiation. So if you're proposing a solution and you want the other person's feedback on it, they're going to give you their feedback, and they may say, sure, that sounds great. But they also may say that's not a good solution because. And if they do that, that bumps you back up to that first step of listening. So then you would listen to their reasoning, why it's not a useful solution. You would make sure to empathize and validate so they know that their perspective is still important to the conversation. You would ask clarifying questions if you're not fully clear on either why that solution is not going to work or other potential pathways or solutions. And then you would get to step 4 again and propose another potential solution. Once you've hit upon a solution that's going to work for everyone, the last step is to reach agreement. So you want to get a verbal agreement. Okay, that sounds good, so we're going to try that. Or let's try it for a week and see how it goes, and then we'll talk about it again. So those are the 5 steps that you can follow, and it can really be helpful in resolving any kind of difficult conversation with children or adults. Here is a simple tool that you can use to think about the 6 key strategies to prevent bullying. And ask yourself about your strengths and challenges as an educator and the strengths and challenges of your program across each of those steps. So think back to all of the different elements within each step. Building authentic community has different stages or different components to it. Committing to nonviolence has different stages or different components. And then identify which elements of each of those different 6 key strategies are strengths for you and strengths for your program, and which ones are challenges for you and challenges for your program. And that can help you start building a plan for what to work on.